keep everyone up to date with the latest public health announcements and opportunities and resources available for our schools. This year, we have just begun resuming those weekly calls to stay connected and to share information from ADE with education leaders. I encourage all of our charter leaders to join us for these calls, which are on Zoom every Wednesday at 2 p.m. If you can't make it, the recordings and materials from the calls are shared out via email each week. This week, the Arizona Department of Health Services will be joining us to discuss their pooled testing program and also to provide examples of effective partnerships between schools and charters and local health departments. On the topic of assessments, our statewide assessments, at the end of August, ADE released our statewide assessment results from the spring. Around 85% of students in Arizona took the state assessment last school year. And while this was among the highest participation rate in the country, it is still well below the 95% rate historically needed to meet federal requirements, which were relaxed last year. The scores of our students are generally in line with trends that we have seen in states across the country. For Arizona overall, we did see about approximately a 4% drop in our ELA test scores, as well as an 11% decrease in mathematics scores. These results reflect the challenging learning environments and, in many cases, trauma faced by our students during the upheavals created by the pandemic last year. We must acknowledge the significant impact the pandemic has had and continues to have on our students and families, and invest in resources that meet our students where they are at. To that end, ADE is proactively using these assessment results and also investing in programs and initiatives that will help to accelerate student learning. Just to highlight a couple of these investments, we are implementing the Acceleration Academies grant, which is $19 million, which goes towards the schools that have been most impacted by COVID, the school communities impacted most by COVID. Also, Discovery Education, we've invested $6.5 million in this partnership, which provides a high quality ed tech platform for students and teachers. We've invested in several educator recruitment and retention efforts, including professional development and new teacher mentoring, to ensure that we are doing everything we can to keep our high quality teachers in classrooms. I'd like to share a little bit extra about a newer investment in partnership with ASU Prep Digital for a program called Math Momentum, which is a $9.6 million investment, which is aimed to target middle school math. With this partnership, ASU Digital Prep is providing a rigorous and intelligently curated math curriculum, as well as certified math educators for schools in need. This is designed to boost the math and digital literacy skills of 5th through 9th grade students using data-driven interventions. Math Momentum offerings include math curriculum for grades 5th through 8th grade math, as well as pre-algebra, algebra, and geometry. This started as a pilot program this past summer, and now
we lost.
We can't hear.
I'll call Ashley, board members, sorry.
Board members, are you able to hear now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm getting some thumbs up here. Can hear now. Okay. Okay, can I have someone say something so that we can make sure that you guys are hearing us and that we can hear you?
We can hear you guys.
We can hear you.
Thank you for being patient with us as we work through the technical issues. President Lee, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Would you like me to begin my executive director's report?
Yes, please.
President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members, thank you for being here today, and thank you for working with staff on as we bring you all back in person and work through the technology issues. As an update on the ongoing legal action and board statuses of those, for Pinnacle Education Keno, we did receive the ALJ's recommended decision on August 23rd. That matter will be brought back to you for consideration at the October board meeting. We are waiting on the hearing for Arizona Education Solutions. That hearing has been continued to December 1st through December 3rd. Additionally, we are working through the consent agreements with Flagstaff Montessori and Tucson International Academy, and the proposed operational consent agreement for Montessori Education Center has been placed on the board agenda for today's meeting. Moving on to staff update. It's an exciting time here at the board. We have promoted Serena Compass to the Assistant Director of Policy Development and Government Relations. She has been working with the board for many years now, and based on her work for the last couple of years and all that she has done to support the board at the legislature, both federally and within the state, she has been promoted. So she will lead the board in the next year during the legislative session and supporting our board's budget request that was brought to you last month for your consideration. And then she will also be leading our legislative efforts to support all of you in the work that we need to do. Additionally, she will continue to head up the board's communications efforts as we continue to provide additional support and communication to our board and to the stakeholders that we work so closely with. She will continue to put out campaigns for information and really try to engage stakeholders so that they understand the work of the board and we can really support the work that our charters are doing in the community. I believe Serena is on. Serena, I will hand it over to you if you just want to make a few comments, but just want to congratulate you on this promotion.
Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate it. Did you want me to go get started on the legislative update?
I just was hoping that you could say something really quickly to the board. I know we have technical issues. Sorry about that.
I just wanted to say thank you. It has been a really incredible last few years working for the board, and it's easy to do this job and do it well when I'm representing a board that is so consistent and so committed to the mission of approving high quality schools. So my job typically goes off without a hitch. So I appreciate it. And thank you to Ashley and the rest of the board staff. They've been so incredibly supportive.
Thank you, Serena.
Congratulations.
I'm going to hand it over to Rachel Hanna to do an update to the board on our plan to visit schools during this school year.
Good morning, President Lee, board members, superintendent. So I'm going to, before I jump into what our site visits are going to look this year, I want to take you on a quick little path through the evolution of our site visits. So prior to 2020, we conducted site visits at schools in their first year, second year, fifth year, 10th year, and the year of their renewal. That visit included notifying the charter holder 2 weeks prior to a 2-week window in which that visit would be conducted. For those visits, we would arrive in the morning at the school and we would essentially spend the whole day there. So the positive of this was we saw the full picture of a school day, the documentation the school had. We were able to see the program of instruction in action. We were also able to have some great interactions with school administrators. However, the negative here was we spent most of our time at the school in the school office reviewing documents, and we were monopolizing the time of the school as well as our own staff members. So during COVID, we weren't able to visit schools. Therefore, we switched over to a desk review process. We would notify charters of the expectation, give them 2 weeks to gather their documents, put them in a Google Drive for our review. We would review them on our own time, kind of offsite, at our homes, at the office, and we didn't conduct any school visits. As a component of that, we would then have a virtual review call using Google Meets with the charter to go over our findings, provide them a 4-hour window to provide us any additional documentation, and then we would issue reports as we had in the past. The positive of this process was we had a lot more time for our staff to review these documents, lean on our internal expertise, conduct research about statutes, as well as prepare questions for the school prior to the visit. It allowed for a lot more collaboration amongst board staff and frankly with the charter itself. We also didn't monopolize as much of that school staff's time. That call was only 1 to 2 hours in general. So instead of spending 6 to 8 hours with that administrator, we were spending only 1 to 2 hours. But the negative here is we weren't in schools. We couldn't review the program of instruction, we couldn't visit classrooms, and we couldn't check on certain safety items. So we learned a lot of lessons from this process. We learned that desk reviews save a lot of time for all parties. Schools tend to be more prepared and more organized for the review and the call, and it allowed our staff more time to collaborate and make sure that we were all treating schools the exact same way on the same page at all times. But we also learned we still need to be in schools. So our plan for 2020, 2021, or 2021, 2022 and beyond is a hybrid approach. So we will continue with our charters that are in our processes to conduct that desk review. That desk review will include the compliance components as well as academic submissions and conversations. It will also include what we are now calling a pop-in visit. So let's talk a little bit about this pop-in visit. The purpose of a pop-in visit will be essentially twofold. One, it's a safety check. So we're going to be on the campus verifying that the occupancy documentation we're receiving through that desk review is consistent with the buildings that we see and find on that campus. We're also going to be looking at staffing, fingerprint cards, and checking the OASIS system. For those board members that may not be aware, there's a new statute that not only can charters not hire those that have had surrendered or revoked certificates, but they also can no longer hire those with suspended certificates. So we are upping the level of check on that particular item. So this will allow us to check those staff lists against names outside those classroom doors, against the fingerprint cards and other documentation we received related to staffing. Additionally, this will let us have quick classroom observations to confirm adherence to and alignment with the program of instruction. The benefit of this is we're going to maximize our time for our charter holders as well as board staff. We'll be spending less time on campus. It'll be a much more streamlined review. And we're only asking for documents at like three main points: pre-visit, at the end of the virtual review call if there's anything to clean up, and then a few minor things when we're on site. Additionally, it's going to free up time for board staff to visit more schools in the portfolio, which we know board members have expressed an interest in, and we really want to be doing. So we will be able to include schools that are not in a scheduled 5-10 renewal process to get a visit as well. This is going to allow us to have more interaction with our schools, more interaction with our school staff, and build better relationships with our schools out there because we're going to be in them more frequently. So what is a pop-in going to really look like? So those that are in a process, a 5-10 first year, will be notified through their official process as required by those processes. Those that are not in a process are going to be notified through this board meeting, communications through the newsletter, social media. We will also work with the association to make sure they put out information about this as well. The benefit here is multiple pop-ins will be able to be conducted in a day because these pop-ins will be 1 to 2 hours in nature, short and focused. So we should be able to conduct 2 to 3 pop-ins in a day. This is going to allow board staff to maximize our travel time especially when we need to travel to places like Yuma or Douglas. If we have a school in Yuma that's in a 5-year process, we can also stop in and do some pop-ins at other schools in Yuma, maximizing our time and the time for the schools. Things to note, especially if you're a charter holder listening in today. Any charter holder can receive a pop-in visit at any time. This is outlined in rule that site visits can be conducted at any time, announced or unannounced. Pop-ins will be unannounced, but essentially everyone is going to be receiving notice that this could be a reality. Additionally, for charters especially, but so that the board is aware, preparation is going to be a key for a successful pop-in. In the next 2 weeks, board staff will be publishing and providing guidance materials for schools to allow them to be prepared for a pop-in at any time. These documents will provide additional information about the process and the preparation, and will include key things like a preparation checklist and a guidance document for the school's front desk staff, because there's nothing we dislike more than getting that deer in the headlights look from that person sitting at the front desk when we walk in the door. So our goal is to make sure charters are well prepared for these pop-in visits. So that is our plan this year for our hybrid visits. Obviously, that will all be dependent on, restrictions and COVID requirements and all of that. But that is our plan for this year, desk reviews, pop-in visits, and we look forward to being in more schools over the course of the next couple of years. Board members, I'm available for any questions or clarification if you need any.
Rachel, I don't have any, this is Mary Ellen. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for this. I'm really excited, and I hope charters are also excited just to get more face-to-face time with you guys. I know you all are so helpful, and for them to see that if they don't already, I think this is really great. And as a board member, I just appreciate, you guys always take the feedback and do it in a way that I feel like is not cumbersome or more work on our charters. If anything, it's the exact opposite. So thanks for all your time and for the guidance document. I think that's so important. So thanks, Rachel.
And Mary Ellen, thank you for your comments. I think the one thing to note is I think charters may be a bit hesitant at first, like it's more stuff we have to have ready, but really we're going to be asking for things you should always have available on campus. So this shouldn't be an additional burden on our charters. In fact, it should actually just help them be more compliant.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm really excited. Thanks, Rachel.
Yep.
Presently, I'll move on to the legislative and policy update. I'll hand it over to Serena.
All right. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members. A quick legislative update for you all. Last year, the board approved the first annual compliance statement of assurance. The compliance statement was created to assist in communicating to charter holders the compliance expectations and requirements to which each charter holder must adhere. Charter representatives are required to initial each statement to assure their schools are in compliance, as well as sign the document as a whole and submit it to our staff annually. This year's compliance statement was updated with new requirements passed during the 2021 legislative session and sent to charters last month. It's due by October 1st, and several reminders have gone out and will continue to go out until then. Over the last year, we have received a lot of great feedback from our charters about how helpful the document is for staying up to date on compliance matters, and board staff now has another compliance tool in their belt. Next, our budget request, as Director Berg mentioned earlier, was submitted successfully to the Governor's Office of Strategic Budgeting and Planning. We are currently working through follow-up questions that were given to us by OSPB, so there will be further updates to come. Communications-wise, our September campaign kicked off on September 1st. We launched a new social media campaign focused on all the work that you do as a board to hold charters accountable, including an overview of each performance framework, site visits, complaints, and more. So you can find that information on our Instagram account, our Twitter account, and our Facebook account. Finally, during the legislative session this year, 2021, a prohibition on mask mandates along with other K-12 laws was passed. The effective date for this new legislation is 30 days after the end of session, which for this year will be September 29th. Understandably, our charters have had many questions surrounding the mask mandate prohibition and how to navigate requiring or recommending mask usage in their schools. Through our communications, we have sent out public health information from the CDC from Arizona Department of Health Services, and information from the Department of Education that's being provided to all public schools. As of now, there is a court date set for today, September 13th, which may have an impact on the mask mandate prohibition, as well as other legislation which affects K-12 public schools. I will keep the board updated regarding this situation as it moves forward, as well as our charters. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Board members, any questions? Okay. Thank you, Serena. And congratulations. We're excited for you.
Thank you.
President Lee, that is all I have to report for the executive director's report.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashley. Okay. And we will go ahead and move along. So, oh, excuse me. All right. Call to the public. There were no requests to speak were submitted. One public comment received regarding item I-1A, and comment is included with the posted materials. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Board members, are there anybody that needs to remove anything from the consent agenda, recuse themselves, and if not, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hum.
Approve the consent agenda as listed.
I'll second.
Thank you. I didn't hear who did that first. I think it was Member Stratton. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Aaron, if you'll do the roll call.
Absolutely. Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you so much, Aaron. Okay, moving on to charter amendments. So for HI 1, we have Arizona Autism Charter Schools, Inc. We have a presentation by Rachel. So Rachel, you are up.
President Lee, Superintendent, board members. Arizona Autism Charter Schools, Inc. submitted an expansion amendment to request to add a new school in Peoria to the existing charter contract, and a request to increase the enrollment cap from 600 to 850, beginning in fiscal year 2023. The charter holder's target population consists of students with autism and related disorders. According to the submitted amendment, the West Valley campus will provide a unique program of instruction consisting of best practices in special education and applied behavior analysis, which, according to the charter holder, is not available at any other public school in the West Valley. The charter holder states that approximately 30% of its current student population commutes to the current campuses from the West Valley, and that it has a consistently growing waitlist to support this expansion. This charter holder utilizes school-specific academic goals for accountability with this board. The charter holder met or exceeded all goals in fiscal year 2019. School-specific academic goals were not evaluated in fiscal year 2020 or 2021 due to the state pause on letter grades. In fiscal year 2022, this charter holder will submit new goals, which will come before the board for approval in the coming months. I'm available for questions if you have any.
Board members, are there any questions for Rachel? Okay. If not, then is there a representative from Arizona Autism Charter Schools, Inc.? If so, if you could unmute yourself at this time, state your name for the record, and if you have a statement you'd like to make.
Yes, thank you. This is Diana Diaz Harrison, and I am the founder and executive director here at Arizona Autism Charter Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to be in front of the board and make this amendment request for a West Valley campus. There has been a lot of stakeholder input and demand for a West Valley campus. We are very excited that we found an existing charter campus that we are in process of purchasing. That would be an ideal location for the West Valley campus. Many families make a very long commute to reach our school from the West Valley. Some families have made drastic changes in their life to access our school so that they don't have to make the very long commute. And if given the opportunity, we do have one family on the line now who is an example of that. So if it is okay with the board, I would love to give Mrs. Sonia Esparza an opportunity to briefly tell her story about what changes she had to make to access our school when she lived in the West Valley.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sonia Esparza, and currently I am a AZAC parent. Back in 2007, I purchased my beautiful dream home in Goodyear, Arizona. Unfortunately, when I had my daughter, you don't expect for your children to be born with a need. My daughter Faith was diagnosed with autism when she was about 2.5 years old. At that time, kindergarten age started coming around, and we were really worried because, we lived in Goodyear. We were worried about finding a school that would definitely help us meet her needs. We looked around for months and months. We did find the AZAC charter located in downtown Phoenix. And at that time, I was working in the West Valley also. So it wasn't an easy commute to drop her off and then drive all the way back to the west side to be able to be at work on time. So what we had to do, me and my husband, we had to, we commuted for about a year, about 2 hours on the freeway to get her there and get people to pick her up for us and drop her back off, help us dropping her off back in Goodyear. So what we had to do, we had to make an executive decision as a family, sold our house that we had worked so hard for us to have. We actually couldn't find a home that we wanted in the Central Valley. So we found a mobile home park in South Phoenix that was able to tend to our needs at that time. The commute was 20 minutes versus 2 hours from Goodyear. So I definitely think the sacrifice that we made as a family was well worth it. And I definitely think that having a campus in the West Valley is really going to help those families that currently don't have the ability to drive all the way down to in the downtown area to actually offer some help to that community, to their children, and as well as their families. So I do definitely think it'd be very beneficial. And if that's the case, I would actually go back and look for my home again in the West Valley.
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, and Ms. Esparza family now has 3 children at our school. So they are, just really great in doing what they needed to do to find the best fit school for their whole family. And we would love to have a school to offer in the West Valley for families like the Esparza family. As I stated in our amendment documents, we have about 30% of our families who currently commute from that area. We plan to open with 120 spots, but with the West Valley being one of the fastest growing segments of Maricopa County, we expect those spots to be full as soon as we make them available, like we saw in our Central Phoenix campus. So we're just trying to grow our network to serve more families in high need areas in Maricopa County. With that, I'm open to any questions board members may have.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Board members, do you have any questions for the charter holder?
President Lee, can I ask the question?
Please. Yes, Ms. Yanoff.
Okay. I'm raising my hand and recognizing you might not be able to see that.
Oh, I couldn't. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Hi, Ms. Diaz. It's so great to see you. I was just wondering, I know the circumstances are so unique for the students you serve, but then on top of adding COVID and a world of like bizarro testing, it's hard for us to know academically how things are going. And that's not to say that you're not doing great things. I'm just hoping that you can sort of elaborate with what you've been doing in lieu of the fact that we don't have sort of the metrics yet as a statewide system to have letter grades for this for your population. I think for all of us on the board, right, we want to be cognizant that we're always asking the questions about academics and making sure that we're doing our due diligence there. So if you could share with us how you're progress monitoring, we'd love to hear it.
Actually, we've kept right up with our school-specific academic goals. using the ABA-based peak assessment and the iReady assessment. We have updated data. We continue to take data when we were transitioning classrooms from on-site to virtual. That was one of the key things that we made sure we did when we opened for appointment-based school, when we went virtual. So we actually have our school-specific data that says we met and exceeded in our, school adopted and ASBCS approved specific goals for both school years that, the one that recently passed and the previous one. We are a very, very data-driven program. That is the whole reason why we exist. So in addition to our peak and iReady assessments, we also are tracking growth in students' IEP goals all the time. And we have very, very updated data that we would be happy to share with the board. I know it wasn't required over the last 2 years, but we have it. And we're really glad that the board adopted the ability for schools like ours to use best practice assessments that are a true reflection of what our population can do. So happy to share the updated data with the board.
Mary Ellen, if you're waiting on me, I'm good for now.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't want to cut you off just in case. I apologize. Yep. Okay,
Appreciate
no,
it.
thank you so much. And I just had a question. So with enrollment caps, as I think board members know, you guys request their enrollment caps. Ideally, all those students will go to your new campus. However, there's nothing that says these 200 and, this enrollment cap only applies to this campus. So technically it could go to any one of your campuses. And so when looking at your support materials and specifically your staffing chart for your online high school, I just was hoping to spend just a minute talking about that and kind of your rationale, because I just was a little concerned about your staffing chart and as you potentially grow, especially we see a lot of families still, choosing virtual options for their students with COVID and for other reasons. If I'm looking at this correctly, in FY22, I believe you only have half a teacher that's supposed to service kindergarten through 8th grade with, I think 20 students is what it is. So I'm just a little concerned with what you project for your online campus and then how you're staffing it. Especially if this enrollment cap gets approved and you happen to see just a burst in online enrollments. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. We definitely have seen more interest in online than we anticipated. But the way we're managing the online program is we're partnering with Edgenuity, and they have teachers by grade level and subject area for the older students. And we're partnering those teachers with special education teachers that are our own teachers to provide the pullout and resource and tutoring that our students would need to access the standard-based grade level curriculum. In addition to that, we have behavior specialists and support staff that are a part of the online school model because this is our first full year implementing online school for our students with high needs. It's definitely a design in progress to see what blend of supports really make online learning accessible. I'm happy to report on that we just received a $150,000 grant from Charter Schools Growth Fund to continue to develop that design that for really high needs kids may include some, home visits. We have our speech and occupational therapists also servicing those students. And while we may have some teachers from Edgenuity supported by special education teachers that we hire, it is an evolving program. And the national charter community is very supportive of our development of blazing the trail in best practices for online learning for special education students.
Okay, so when you guys have, so like, for example, if we do the FY25, you guys say that, estimate 80 students, right? That's always a guess. I know I filled out these charts myself. So, right, that's what we think. You have 2 classroom teachers, K-8 for 80 students. So, which obviously is, 4 subjects per student. So you're talking, or per grade level. So you're talking, at minimum 24 subjects, not including electives, to be covered by 2 teachers. So the 2 teachers that you have on your staffing chart, does that not include the Edgenuity teachers, or is that?
No, it does not. No.
Okay, and are the Edgenuity teachers appropriately, I think the term is appropriately certified? I would assume so, I think.
Oh yeah, they do have certified teachers. They definitely need support from our team to differentiate the programming for the levels of our students. But they are fully certified teachers in their various subject areas.
And are those teachers live? Like, do they interact with the students live, or is it they just kind of manage the platform?
There's both. I mean, in full transparency, we wish they were more live than they are. It's more appointment based when they go live, and a lot of the teaching is asynchronous. So, we are evolving the program to meet the needs of our kids, and it may mean that we need more staff for our students, but the way it stands right now, the Edgenuity teachers are the teachers of record, and those teachers, the students in that program are supported by the number of teachers from ASACs that are shown on the chart. We are constantly evaluating how that's working out for our various levels of students. For some very high functioning students, that seems to be just the right supports. For students that are more impacted, we're finding that we need more support. So with this grant that we just got from Charter Schools Growth Fund and other philanthropic funding that I'm allocating to this, we're trying to find the right level of support from teachers that work for us in combination with, the platform, so that each level of students gets the right support.
Okay, awesome. No, thank you for that. That would just definitely be something to be aware of. It sounds like you are, because it just seems like a low student to teacher ratio, but it sounds like you might be supporting them in different ways that maybe just aren't particularly reflected on this staffing chart. Is kind of
yeah, it's hard to tell the whole picture on the chart, especially because we serve such a range on the spectrum, right? From nonverbal and very developmentally disabled to high functioning. So in our in-person program, we adjust the staffing based on needs, and we're really working to do the same thing in the online program.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you. Board members, are there any other questions? With
Mary
that,
Ellen?
is there, oh, please,
Yeah.
yes,
No, this is Hans. I was just going to say, hearing no more questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
please.
And I want to wish the Arizona Autism School best of luck. So I move, based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today, to approve the request to add a new school to the contract of Arizona Autism Charter Schools Incorporated, and to increase the enrollment cap from 600 to 850 in FY 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And Aaron, with the roll call, please.
So Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
I'll vote aye, and thank you for all the work that you do with the special population.
Ms. Wood,
Aye.
Ms. Yano,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, still on charter amendments, agenda item H2, we have Kaizen Education Foundation. Rachel, please, with the update.
Kaizen Education Foundation, DBA El Dorado High School, has submitted an amendment request to increase its enrollment cap from 650 to 750 for fiscal year 2022. The increase is to account for anticipated growth at its schools over the next 3 years. The charter holder operates 2 schools on this contract, El Dorado High School as an alternative high school, and Glenview College Prep, which as its name indicates, is a college preparatory high school. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because Glenview College Preparatory High School did not perform at or above the average performance of the majority of schools within a 5-mile radius in fiscal year 2019. I do have one update for you based on the fiscal year 2021 data that was recently released. We did not include a complete picture of this data at the time of posting due to the timing of the data release and the need to build out our resources around that release. We now know that in fiscal year 2021, 26 schools operated within a 5-mile radius of Glenview. Only 9 of these schools outperformed Glenview, which is 35% of the schools. So in fiscal year 2021, Glenview would meet on this metric for a staff recommendation. However, as El Dorado's data is redacted, that school would not meet on the metric for this indicator. But I did want to give you that update with the additional data and the additional resources now being built out. I do know that the school is prepared with multiple presentations for you this morning, but I am available for any questions you might have for me.
Rachel, thank you so much for the update. It's very helpful. You guys always do such a great job at getting us the most accurate data as quickly as possible. So we appreciate that. Board members, are there any questions for Rachel? Okay, then if not, it sounds like there is a representative on the line. So at this time, if you could unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and then any statement you would like to make.
President Lee, the representatives are actually in the room with us here today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to just, yes, you unmuting yourself. So welcome. So if you guys will come up to the podium, if you're not already there, my screen just went away. There we go. And then you can, I see the presentation now. Okay, go for it.
Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, and Superintendent Hoffman. My name is Michelle Kay, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Leona Group. I have with me a team who's prepared to present today. I'm also the charter representative for Kaizen Education Foundation. Just a quick history of the Leona Group. We started in 1997 in Arizona with 2 alternative high schools. We've since grown to 27 campuses serving elementary students. The bulk of our schools are still alternative high schools, and we currently operate 4 of our version of college prep. And our version of college prep really targets the average or below average academically student who doesn't really envision themselves going to college. And our job is to turn them into college going students and helping them develop the skills and also the belief that they can enroll, succeed in college. Our demographics system-wide are typically very high poverty rates, over 90%. Free and reduced lunch, high ethnic minority populations, typically above the state average in special education, English language learners, homeless, and foster students. Our mission as the Leona Group and across all of our schools has always been to serve what are historically marginalized students and provide them a quality education and improve their life chances through that quality of education. And we've seen it time and time again for the past 23 years. We have a lot of success stories. 3 points I'd like to share with you this morning before having the school come up though. I have the privilege of sitting with Superintendent Hoffman on the Arizona State Board of Education. I've been a board member since 2017. And some of the conversations we've been having lately around accountability and assessments, I think are relevant to the conversation today. In your board packet, we've referenced 2019 assessment scores. 2020, we had a pause, and then 2021. For high schools in particular, this is really important because we did change assessments, as you all know, this past year. So in 2019, the assessment data was end of course assessment, took that pause in 2020, and then in 2021, we were doing a 10th grade assessment. So El Dorado, being a typical alternative high school, will not have many assessments because most of their students are overage, underaccredited at 11th and 12th grade. Again, with Glenview, you'll see that we've only had those students, those 10th grade students for 2 years. And again, the target population is typically student who's had a history of academic challenges or are just slightly behind academically, or maybe significantly behind academically. But it's important that we recognize that we don't have apples to apples comparison. And I know at the State Board of Education, those are the conversations we're having, is what to do about it. We don't have a letter grade system, but we still know that the data is important. The other piece I wanted to point out is the percent tested that Superintendent Hoffman referenced earlier. This year, the statewide was 85%. Glenview College Prep is around 98% tested. And historically, Leona Group schools hit the 95% expectation. What we don't know, though, and what came up in the last State Board of Education meeting is who makes up the 85%. We know it's probably heavily skewed to elementary school students. We had more elementary school students test statewide than high school. And also geographically, we don't know. We had some really high take rates in some areas of the state and not so in other parts. And so digging into that information is going to be really important as we make determinations about how schools fared or didn't. And I know at the State Board of Education, the conversation has been, where are the highlights? What has gone well in a world the past 18 months that most things have gone wrong, that have been rife with challenges. And so we've really tried to figure out where are the highlights. And that's what El Dorado and Glenview will present today, are some of the highlights and the high points of their student data and what they're proud of. The last point I wanted to make was just around parental choice. Obviously, in the charter world, we all believe in the importance of choice and opportunity and the importance of a parent making the decision that is best for their child. Over the past 18 months, we've seen parents exercise parental choice in a way that we really never have. And not just within the charter world, but within education in general, across districts, online, in person. And so it is absolutely critical. And you see in the data that parents are choosing El Dorado and Glenview in higher numbers increasingly each year. Sometimes it's the student at the high school level who's making that choice. And although the conversation rarely starts with what do the test scores look like, we eventually get there. Usually the conversation that a school leader and a parent or a student are having are around their own individual needs, their own measures of success and what they feel they will need to help them become successful. So things like safety, physical safety, emotional safety, things like opportunities, whether it's extracurricular activities or clubs and programs, specialty connections, or just that their friend attended and had a really great experience, because our schools are small. Our 912 campuses are small. That 500 range that we have in your packet is a really small school compared to a traditional high school. And the advantage of that is that students are known, they're seen, and we can build a relationship with them. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Baja Ali, who's the school leader at El Dorado High School in Chandler. Ms. Ali.
Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, board members. My name is Baja Ali, and I'm the school leader of El Dorado High School. I have been with the Leona School, with the Leona Group for the past 10 years, serving as the school leader of El Dorado High School for the past 5 years. El Dorado High School is an alternative high school located in Chandler. And we have been serving alternative students since 1999. Our former location was on Warner and Arizona Avenue until it was sold in 2019. We moved to our new location, located about a mile southwest of our former location, and we have continued to serve the students in the East Valley. We currently have about 185 students enrolled at our school. As you can see, our student population is reflective of alternative school, with lower numbers of 9th and 10th grade and higher numbers of 11th and 12th graders. Of the 90 12th graders that we have enrolled right now, they consist of 4th, 5th, and 6th-year seniors who are overage and undercredited. We serve diverse students with diverse needs, such as English as a second language, special education, and McKinney-Vento. And 88% of our students meet one or more indicator for an alternative student, oftentimes with academic deficiency and are behind on credits. I would like to share our state letter grade points for 2019 and 2021. You will not see points for 2020 due to the state not testing because of the pandemic. As you can see, we have areas that we need to grow on, and we are working really hard on those. However, I would like to highlight the areas that we have made the most gain and are proud of. In fact, in these areas, we nearly earned the maximum points allowed by the state. In the academic persistence category, we nearly earned the maximum points awarded by the state in 2019 and in 2021. Same goes for on track to graduate. Considering that we were in the midst of a pandemic, and with 72% of our students being juniors and seniors who are overage and are undercredited, we have increased our graduation rate from 40% to 50%. In getting our students ready for college and career after high school, we have earned the maximum points awarded by the state, both in 2019 and 2021. During the pandemic, we continued to put our student success above all and wanted to make sure that our students remained engaged and connected. We've provided our students with devices, internet connection, assigned them mentors, and conducted weekly home visits. We also leveraged partnerships in our community to make sure that our students have as many opportunities as possible for success after high school graduation. President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, board members, those were numbers. At El Dorado High School, what we are most proud of and what we work the hardest on is changing the lives of our students and families through student success. On the next slide, I would like to share the stories of some of our students. In the example of the student pictured in the middle, Hannah. Hannah is the daughter of an immigrant father and mother with middle school education. She came to El Dorado High School as a freshman. She worked really hard, took advantage of the partnerships that we have by earning a medical assisting certification from EVIT, and she graduated at the top 3% of her graduating class. She was accepted into ASU with a scholarship, where she's currently pursuing a degree in medicine, and she served as a role model for her younger siblings and her community. These are the lives that we change every day by doing what we do at El Dorado High School. Thank you for your time. I hope that you consider our proposal for increasing our enrollment cap. And at this time, I would like to introduce Chris Ecton, school leader of Glenview College Preparatory Academy.
President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, board members, thank you for having us today. My name is Chris Ecton. I am the school leader of Glenview College Prep High School. I've been with the Leona Group for 15 years. I've been the school leader of Glenview for 7. Glenview College Prep started out with a small partnership with Alhambra Elementary School District. We leased a building from the district for 5 years. After 5 years, the district did a restructure and they needed that building to run a school. They housed us in a temporary location while we built our permanent location on 43rd Avenue in Bethany Home. The GCP students, we are 100% qualified for free and reduced lunch. Our students are in poor academic standing, meaning they come to GCP minimally proficient on state tests, 62% in math, 88% in ELL. This is the falls far below category. 10% English language learner population and a 12% special education population. The GCP students, they have a high mobility rate. So as you can see at the class of 2020, 40% of our students stayed with us all 4 years. But moving into the 2022 school year, 73% are staying with us all 4 years. But out of that 73%, 27% attended 5 or more schools before coming to Glenview College Prep. 18% attended 4 or more schools before coming to Glenview. So that's a 45% high mobility rate. And they're staying because of the community feel that we have created at Glenview. So I do want to highlight a couple of reasons of why they do come to Glenview, why they choose Glenview. But the biggest thing is our community volunteering. So we are an avid school, and our neighboring district, Alhambra Elementary School District, is an avid district as well. Part of running that program, it's very difficult to come up with avid tutors. So our students have volunteered at 3 of those neighboring schools to offer tutoring to those avid classes. In addition, we have 3 tutoring programs that tutor 6th grade reading and 7th and 8th grade math at 3 schools in the surrounding district. But now I would like to highlight a few of the data points. In 2018, we had a 76% graduation rate. But since then, we have been 11% higher across the past 3 years. I would also like to talk about the 2021 AZ Merit Test scores, as we did not reach the state in the proficiency, but I do want to highlight that GCP surpassed the state growth average at 18.22, where the state was at 17.36. And finally, I would like to talk about the English language learner proficiency. As you can see, in 18-19, we were at 21% proficiency, while the state was at 24. But moving into the next year of 19-20, 32% proficiency rate, and Arizona's was 23. And then in 2021, we were at 23% proficiency, while Arizona was at 20%. We've built that college and career culture at Glenview College Prep. One of the big programs is our dual enrollment with the ACE program with Glendale Community College. We've had students accepted to that program since 2019. And even during the pandemic, we had 19 students accepted with 17 that are currently enrolled. The other big program is the Students Inspiring Students Scholarship through Grand Canyon University, where our students have received almost $1.5 million in tuition assistance. Again, we do know the need for financial assistance to our students. In 18-19, we'd only received $275,000 in scholarships. But looking into 2021, we received a little over $900,000 in scholarships, along with being above the state average the past 3 years for FAFSA completion. So along with that, college and career culture, there is a dual enrollment program that we're involved with Grand Canyon University. I had just mentioned the ACE program and dual enrollment. We're offering a class through Wesleyan University this year, along with partnerships with nonprofit organizations, Earn to Learn, Year Up, College Depot, College Bound, Arizona Career Pathways. So thank you. We do hope that you will consider our enrollment cap increase so we can continue serving the community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you guys for being here and for just sharing a little bit about your school. It's always great to be able to see the pictures and all the programs that you guys offer, because we don't get to see all of that in the board materials. So thank you so much. Board members, are there any questions for the charter holder?
President Lee, this is Superintendent Hoffman.
Please.
I just have a comment. I also just want to say how much I appreciate the context, the pictures, the student highlights, all the amazing programs that you're offering to your students at these two schools. I think it is really important for us to look at the data, but then to acknowledge what a challenging year, this year and a half, this has been for our students and for our communities, and then to highlight, as Michelle was saying too, to be able to highlight what our schools were able to, or how our schools were really going above and beyond to continue serving students. And I'm very impressed by everything that you both have shared about your two schools here today. I just wanted to add that comment.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions?
I have a couple of questions, President Lee. So if I'm reading this right, we're currently you're 200 students below your current enrollment cap. Is that right? Projected out to 2025?
Hi, Superintendent Hoffman and President Lee. My name is Mary Berg. I'm the academic supports for the Leona group. No, you are currently, we have an enrollment cap of 650. We currently have 690 students enrolled. And that's why we're asking for an increase to 750 over the next 3 years. So we have exceeded our enrollment cap already this year.
Okay, but projected to FY 2025, it looks like you're already approved for 750, and that number jumps up in 22. Is that right?
That would be wonderful. I think we're approved for 650 right now, and we're applying for 750.
Member Mason, that is correct. Right now, they are approved for an enrollment cap of 650, and they're looking to go to 750. So if you look at the 3-year plan that is projected on their chart, you can see that for FY 2022, they're at 690 for their grades 9 through 12. So you have to look at both of those schools in conjunction. And then if you look at FY 2025, you'll see that they are projecting to be at 750. So in 3 years, they project to fulfill that entire enrollment cap.
Got it. I thought I had a follow-up question, but I may not.
Okay.
I think that answered my questions.
Great, thank you. Board members, are there any other questions?
Yes, Board Member Lee, President Lee, I have a question, just a mechanical question since I'm new to the board. If the old cap was 650 and we're now at 690, how does that happen for a school? Is there some flexibility that the board has for like a one-time kind of emergency, or can you just walk those of us that aren't aware of that process?
President Lee and Member Stratton, the contract is approved for 600, although in the past we have allowed for some flexibility, especially through the pandemic, because we did not know what the enrollment would look like, because there has been so much mobility, we have allowed for a little bit more flexibility. However, Kaizen did reach out to us a while ago, and we have been working through the process to get their enrollment cap request on the board agenda for their consideration.
Okay, great, thank you. Just
And
curious.
Executive Director Berg, Member Stratton, it is important to note that this charter holder did submit this request prior to the start of the current school year, knowing that they were likely to exceed their cap.
Thank you.
I would like to remind my fellow board members, I believe there's some precedent to only increasing to the current number enrolled and then having the school come back for their increase or reapply for the increase at a later time so that they're in compliance.
I believe, sorry, thank you. I believe that that was only in the case where we felt uncomfortable with the increase. I could be wrong, because I do remember that, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think that what we had done before is we had charters come before us, we were not comfortable with the increase, but then kind of had us in a rock and a hard place of over enrolling students. And so at that point, we had increased up into the enrollment cap and then had them come back with more data.
Presently, I agree. I'm just throwing it out there that we do have
Perfect.
precedent for that kind of decision.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah. Board members, are there any other questions or points of clarification?
President Lee, this is Hans. If we're ready, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Yeah, let me, Hans, before you do that, let me make one comment. Sure. I appreciate, so I always have a hard time when schools come up here and the, any item is read, but particularly this one about achievement, because I do think we need some sort of measure to be able to compare schools to each other, right? And particularly, alternative schools to other alternative schools. But I feel much better knowing that with the current data, that Glenview College Prep would be green, as well as then we look at the alternative school. And as you guys may or may not know, I spent a few years teaching at an alternative school, where I truly believe, and I say this time and time again, the best teachers need to be everywhere, but particularly there, it was such a life-changing experience for me. And just with my experience as a teacher, what really makes an alternative school impactful truly is all of those pieces that it looks like, Kaizen Education is providing. It's the letting students know that they can obtain college if they want to, or they can obtain some sort of post-secondary attainment, whether that's college, whether that's a career. They have those pieces in place, the tutoring, the connecting, even just having people come from a college campus and be face-to-face or virtual with students closes that gap of making college scary for students. And so I really appreciate all of the programs that you guys are offering and implementing. It definitely makes me feel better about this increase. And I also appreciate that the increase is very limited. You didn't come here and ask for 1,000 more students or even 500 more students. I think 100 students is very reasonable. I think that there's still areas to grow in, as you guys mentioned, with your data. But I think given everything, that's happened in the past, that there is precedent for giving the 100 students. So with that, board members, any other questions or comments before we go to a motion? Okay. All right. If not, then Hans, is there a motion?
Yep. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to increase the enrollment cap from 650 to 750 in FY 2022 for the contract of Kaizen Education Foundation, DBA El Dorado High School.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Member Stratton. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close.
Aye. Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett. Dr. Crockett. Mr. Mason.
Aye.
Sorry, Dr. Crockett.
Aye. Sorry.
You're good. Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
Ms. Wood,
I, with the comments, just to say thank you so much for all that you're doing for our young people. And I concur with all the comments that were before mine, that your work is so beneficial and needed for our children in this particular season in our state and in our history of education. So thank you so much for all you're doing. And I wholeheartedly agree that the 100 enrollment increase is well-deserved and needed.
Ms. Yanoff,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you guys for being here. All right. Moving on to compliance matters, agenda item I-1. And I believe we're going to go ahead and have a presentation by Joanna.
And President Lee, it's actually going to be Cassie who's doing that presentation.
I knew that and I apologize. Yep, Cassie, thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 15-183R and Arizona Administrative Code R75403F, if the board determines the charter holder does not meet the board's minimum operational performance expectations, it shall consider the charter holder's non-compliance and may subject the charter holder to additional charter oversight as outlined in Article 6 of the Arizona Administrative Code, including issuing a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract. Pursuant to this rule, Espiritu Community Development Board, entity ID 4335, has been placed on the agenda for the board's consideration. Board staff conducted an interval review of NFL College Prep Academy on February 22nd, 2021. Upon review of the documentation submitted by the charter holder, board staff identified multiple compliance issues leading to marking the charter holder's operational dashboard and requiring submissions bring the charter holder into compliance. The issues identified deficiencies in failure to align the contractual program of instruction with the current instructional practices and methodologies currently used in the school, policies related to enrollment and attendance, and timely updating the charter's contract amendment process. Outside of the issues identified during the interval desk review, the charter holder was also out of compliance to the findings from various units of the Arizona Department of Education, including audit findings identified during an on-site monitoring of school services to students with disabilities conducted by the Exceptional School Services Unit, findings discovered during a separate physical disabilities conducted by the monitoring audit conducted by ADE Grant Management, and findings discovered during the procurement review of their school lunch program by ADE Health and Nutrition Services. They also failed to timely remit contributions to the Arizona State Retirement System. In addition to the items listed above, the school also failed to timely or respond timely to a complaint response. Additionally, the charter holder was identified for targeted school improvement by the Arizona Department of Education in fiscal year 2018 for the subgroups of English language learners and students with disabilities. Therefore, this additional data has been included in the executive summary for review. A public comment has been received for this item and can be found in the board materials. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions? Okay, if not, then is there a charter representative here from Espiritu? If so, if you could please unmute yourself at this time, state your name for the record and any statement you'd like to make.
Hello, thank you. My name is Anastasia Europa, and I just want to start off by thanking you for the opportunity to speak with the board today. I want to apologize on behalf of our CEO, as he had a long-standing commitment that was out of state and is unable to attend today. As the Chief Operating Officer, I'm here representing Espiritu to provide an explanation and context of the last 18 months, which resulted in 6 of the 9 operational measures not being met for NFL yet. After 2019, our new admin team had turned the corner. We felt that we had everyone in the right place and performing their best. And in 2020, we had 100% of our measures that were met. and we were in the green across the board. And then COVID hit, and it did greatly impact our admin team. A number of our key personnel were infected, and some with long-term absences, including our chief financial officer, our human resource manager, half of our front office staff, and our principals. Our entire admin team was not able to meet physically in person until April of 2021. Now, while we were focusing on mitigation plans, supporting our teachers as they taught remotely for the first time, ensuring students had necessary technology and resources as we serve a community that is low income, and disproportionately impacted by COVID. So ensuring that they had necessary technology and resources, managing the sick, planning the return to school, and most of all, managing the fear of for ourselves, for our staff, for our families and students. And then in the midst of that, we also had our 5-year review, and we weren't prepared, we weren't ready for it. Additionally, our chief operating officer, a key role, made a career change and stepped down. And this was just before the start of the new school year of 2021. And COVID changed the perspectives of many, and based on the concerns of getting sick, or even worse, taking it home to your family and getting sick, especially those loved ones who are high risk. And this was the case in this instance. The COO role was not easy to fill during the pandemic, and we were unable to fill this position until April of this year. In our opinion, the unmet measures were greatly impacted by COVID, as opposed to systematic operational failures. However, we don't take this lightly. This experience has illuminated gaps in our processes, and we realize and we've identified where there are single points of failure that exist, that are either reliant on one individual or don't have automated processes in place. While all measures were promptly addressed and they're currently in good standing, we have and we will continue to identify and implement new and automated processes and procedures to ensure that we're within standards moving forward each year. So I asked the charter board today to look at this with the lens of the unprecedented times that we all faced last year. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for that. Board members, are there any questions?
President Lee, I have a question. This is Rachel.
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks. Hi, I heard you speaking about identifying some of these single points of failure. And I think for all of us, there's a fairly significant amount of items that were brought to our attention. And so I think for us to sort of feel comfortable, we would like to hear more about, or I certainly would like to hear more about, what will be different so this doesn't happen again, because we recognize that we actually have seen you all a couple times in the last couple of years. And so, really want to think about how the system is going to be dramatically different. And so if you can share with us what were those single points of failure, what have you done to ensure that those won't happen again, and walk us through those processes, I think that would be really helpful for us.
Yep, absolutely. So we're in the process of implementing a new software called Karina, and this is going to provide a ticketing and approval process feature that we'll be able to use to assign roles and measure progress and running completion reports. This will be helpful, particularly in our HR department, where we'll be able to automate as opposed to using a manual process for onboarding new employees that will be related to ensuring that we have all of the requirements met there. Additionally, we have the yearly compliance statement of assurance. We're taking a formal approach to this. We have met with all of our senior leadership and admin to review each item and taking a formal approach to assign each department as well as each individual, which will be able to use the software to assign those items to them and then manage the progress for those owners. We have a recurring monthly meeting to review our operational dashboards and each item that had been assigned from the compliance statement of assurance as well. We are also using the compliance statement of assurance to establish internal annual audits to have those internal controls in place. And we'll be doing that for enrollment and admissions. So even if we feel like we just fixed that, and we just made those adjustments, we still need to complete that annual audit to have that internal control. So that will be for enrollment and admissions. And that will be done along with myself as the Chief Operating Officer, the senior leaders, and our front office staff as well. Also doing an internal audit for our state charter board website, an internal audit for the Arizona Charter Commission, and our school website as well. We've implemented weekly staff meetings with the school leaders and admin to ensure that everyone is aligned and is collaborating on the expectations in ensuring compliance. We've also expanded user roles that provides our board secretary access to upload agendas, minutes to the website, and make processes more efficient, as we were taking out the middleman, and that's going to help to ensure timely responses. So those are some of the items that we've already have completed and have in place. In addition to that, we do have our grants management team meeting weekly as well. And we have yearly trainings that we have that team attending as well. And that included the UGG Edgar training, which was completed on July 22nd, the CARES training that was completed on July 29th. And then also taking ADE trainings and having them required. And with that system that we have in place, we can assign these trainings and then follow up to ensure that they're completed. But that will include trainings for reimbursement requests and as well as completion report trainings.
President Lee, I can pause for now and let other folks ask questions. I appreciate the answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, are there any other questions?
President Lee, I have a question.
Please, Dr. Crockett.
Thank you. Can you elaborate for us what your succession plans, what your policy is with succession planning, and how you can ensure that should there be any change, that whatever the decision is today, that the school will be, that the charter will be protected?
Yes, that's a great question. And as we, as this year served with the COO stepping down because of COVID, I think it highlights a single point of failure is if it's reliant on that individual as well. And so as we look at establishing the organizational chart, it's really about identifying who's the next in line for every role at every level. And so we're in the early process of that as far as establishing and finalizing what that organizational chart looks like. And we feel that we're at the point where we have all of the folks in place. And then it's really determining who is next in line there. And, from an informational standpoint, I would say sharing the wealth, and across the board, our senior meetings, if we're reviewing the statement, the compliance making sure that we're reviewing that across the board and that all senior leaders have insight to and not, what those compliance requirements are, even if it's not assigned to them. And I think that that helps everyone's knowledge to grow and as we meet with each senior leader to find out where are they at, where's their next step, that they start to get plugged into that information and those roles and knowing what those requirements are. So, we're in the early stages there from a succession plan, but we feel that we have everyone in place and are being transparent with what those requirements and responsibilities are at all levels with our school leaders and the admin team.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So you're saying basically before your leadership, there really hasn't been a succession plan.
I think that there was opportunities within the succession planning, and I think even potentially just understanding the responsibilities as we met just in the past few weeks to review the compliance statement of assurance. And it was interesting to see just the admin team and our school leaders, they were invested and they wanted to know, where are we getting this information? They wanted to dig into it as well. So I think just sharing those requirements, but more broadly amongst the full academic team, including our finance department, our human resource department, our school leaders. It's important, our grants management team, that everyone's aligned on what's required. And I think that's the first step that we're taking there. It's tough to have that succession plan if someone has to step in and maybe doesn't have insight into the full scope of the responsibilities and requirements.
Thank you very much.
Board members, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, President Lee, this is Board Member Stratton.
Please.
You mentioned earlier the phrase sharing the wealth, and I bring this up from time to time, but just wondering if you guys regularly engage in any of the training or professional development programs that are offered out there relative to charter school operations. I'd just like to put out the reminder, there are a lot of great programs out there that are put on for the benefit of our charters. And so to the extent that you're not already doing so, I would encourage you guys to take full advantage of that, because again, learning from other operators, learning from, legal updates and things like that, I think just makes our system that much better.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that recommendation. And we are currently enrolled in attending Elevate through the Arizona Department of Education. And that's been just a phenomenal experience for our team, because we have at all levels of our senior leadership with our admin team, our school leaders, as well as our master teachers attending that training. And so that's been really helpful as it focuses on instructional infrastructure, talent management, and culture. So it's allowing all levels of leadership within our organization to get a broad scope of best practices. And I feel that will give us a good foundation, as again, we feel we have everyone in the right roles. And it's really about sharing the wealth of knowledge across the board.
Great.
Board members, any other questions or comments? I just have one, and I know the reasons you're up here for compliance were not academic, but in looking just kind of at your academics, because we get that information, we look at these, is there something you guys are doing particularly at the NFL yet College Prep Academy to address kind of the ELA math and science scores? There just seems to be a decline from FY18 to FY19. There was a slight increase in FY21, well below the state average. I mean, obviously that includes COVID and things like that. So really the only data I have to look at that's what I would call, regular data, right? In a regular environment is FY18, FY19. You guys, as you're addressing the compliance, do you guys also have a plan to just kind of address some of that achievement?
Yes. Thank you for asking. We have a number of new roles that we've added on for this year. I think one of the first one I'd like to highlight is previously our school leader, Rosalva Lopez, who's sitting here next to me, joining. She was overseeing, 7th grade to 12th grade for NFL, as well as our Aim Higher school. And so what we've done is we've hired a new school leader for Aim Higher so that Rosalva can focus 100% on the NFL students from 7th to 12th grade. So that additional school leader there, I believe will make a significant impact. In addition to that, we also have a new senior academic coach that we've hired on, Sochi Ramirez. That's a new role starting this school year to provide additional support to Rosalva from a coaching standpoint. We have a new academic coach who will be providing support to the teachers. So really trying to build the coaching infrastructure for our school leader and for our teachers as well. So we have 2 new academic coaches that we've brought on. We also have our EL director who is new to role this year. Her name is Laura Cami. And so providing those resources certainly help. So in addition to just having a comprehensive coaching team, which we didn't have in the previous year, we're also incorporating reading interventions as well, and looking to address the turnover from teaching staff as well, just to provide that consistency for students. But the reading intervention, a pretty rigorous after school tutoring requirements as well, to help to address that loss for learning. So we feel that we have the right folks in place by adding those critical additional roles for this year moving forward.
All right, thank you. Board members, any other questions or comments before we get to a motion?
I would, if you don't mind, we do have one other, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the additional role. We recently also brought onto our team Francisco de Escotos, and he is joining as a family and community director of family and community engagement. And as I think about academics, it's critical that we have the families, the guardians on board and our team. And even just driving in today, I was just sharing with Rosalva, we need to meet with every single student's guardians, and we need to have that review. And yes, it's almost 400 meetings, but just to get everyone realigned with where their students are at, what the expectations are and what we need to do moving forward for success. So having Francisco on board with the team and helping with those family relationships and engagement and getting the families involved, that's a key critical component in our students' academic success, is having that family partnership as well. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, any other questions or comments?
With that, is there a motion?
Yep. President Lee, this is Hans. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to find that Espiritu Community Development Corp, hereinafter referred to in this motion as the charter holder, I'm not on mute, has failed to meet the operational performance expectations set forth in the board's operational performance framework and has violated its charter contract and state and federal law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter, other obligations to the board, and state and federal law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board directs staff to work with legal counsel to develop a consent agreement that addresses the charter holder's non-compliance with the board's operational performance expectations, its charter, and state and federal law. The board further directs staff to bring the consent agreement back to the board for consideration at a subsequent board meeting. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the consent agreement developed by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract for the reasons already specified.
I'll second.
Thank you. And Aaron with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
And I'd like to make the comment that I feel very comfortable that there's good management based on the conversation today at Espiritu. And I really see this consent agreement as a good framework to assist you and to guide you to ensure the success that you want. So I hope that as a leader really in your community and based on a leadership model, I think this is a great way to ensure your continued leadership.
Thank you.
Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Ms. Rice.
If I might make a comment before my vote. Anastasia, I appreciate your presentation today and all the work that's been done in Espiritu. I would like to recommend, and I would hope that this could be happening, is that the next time Espiritu comes before this board, that Armando Ruiz, the CEO, is present and prioritizes this. I think it's very important that we hear directly from him and that we know that at the very top level that this is being taken seriously, especially considering that this is not the first time that we've seen Espiritu, and also that he is a public member of the State Board of Education. I think this is just very important. So with that, I will vote aye. I would just like to see that happen if possible.
Mrs. Stratton. Aye. Ms. Wood.
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Last agenda item. Ashley, is there any current events and what is our next meeting date?
President Lee and board members, the next board meeting is on October 18th. And we do plan to do a semi-hybrid meeting again. So thank you for all of you just being so patient with us as we work through these technical problems, but hopefully the next board meeting goes a little bit more smoothly. And with that, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members, that's all I have to report.
Great. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.